Okay, so I made a part one to this about 10 months ago in February after they robbed Robert Whitaker out of the decision against Adesanya in their rematch. I believe that fight was in February. It was a little under a year ago I made this video. But let's start with the excuses coming out for Israel Adesanya. Hold on one second. Sorry, I don't have it ready to rock. Just bear with me.
Making such a fuss over finally launching themselves into space.
Shut the fuck up, Jeff.
People into spaces for years. Wait a minute.
Shut the fuck up, Jeff Goldblum.
How many of these guys are there? Apartments.com. A place to find a place.
I'm still depressed over it. He fought absolutely fantastically. He was undersized. Pereira is not a middleweight. That brother is a big dude. It was like Drago versus Rocky. Yet undersized. Pereira fantastically. He was undersized. Pereira is not a middleweight. That brother is a big dude. It was like Drago versus Rocky. Yet Adesanya was...
Okay, so let's go. Okay, well, let's go over this, Stephen A. And I have to say this because I already have a fucking bone to pick with Stephen A. because him and that fucking bimbo Molly Quorum were talking shit about the Milwaukee Bucks when they went to the finals a couple years ago and won it for the first time in 50 years. You're a punk. You'll get smoked in Milwaukee. So will that bimbo housewives fucking broad Molly Quorum. Okay? You're a bitch. Fuck Queens or Brooklyn or wherever the fuck it is you're from, too. But back to the point. Let's replay that one more time, just so everybody can hear it clearly, because I know there's a lot of simpletons out there. Israel Adesanya is the most overrated MMA fighter in history by far, period.
He was undersized. Pereira is not a middleweight. That brother is a big dude. It was like Drago versus Rocky.
Okay, so there's one excuse out of Stephen A. Smith's mouth. We're 11 seconds into the video. He was undersized. Well, let me refresh you guys' memory as to who Israel Adesanya has been fighting during his championship reign. Undersized. Does that sound familiar? Sounds more like Israel Adesanya got a taste of his own medicine. What's that, Stephen A? You said undersized. Did I hear that correctly? Undersized. Because if Pereira's not a middleweight, guess what, fucko? Neither is Israel Adesanya. Undersized. Is that what I heard you say, Stephen A. Smith? Let's have a look at another one of Adesanya's opponents who he lost to. Undersized, huh? That's crazy, Stephen A. You know, that's kind of funny. By the way, Yoel Romero beat his ass too, and that was another robbery decision that Adesanya didn't deserve to win. Now, let me hear that one more time again, Stephen A. Did you say Israel Adesanya was undersized? So what do we have there? Gaslam, Whitaker, and Romero. Two guys who he lost to, one guy who he almost lost to, with draconious fucking height and reach disadvantages against Israel Adesanya. But I am hearing you correctly, right? Right, Stephen A? You did say Adesanya was undersized. Let me make sure I heard that correctly.
He fought absolutely fantastically. He was undersized. Pereira is not a middleweight. That brother is a big dude. It was like...
Yeah, okay. So he was undersized, but this during Israel Adesanya's entire reign as middleweight champion, he's fought guys that he was twice their size. Sounds more like he got a slight taste of his own medicine, Stephen A. And it sounds more like you're sticking up for him because he's black. But, of course I'm racist, right? Or maybe Pereira's just a better fighter. Because let's put things into perspective here. Because Adesanya was supposedly the master of adjustments, the style bender. And so you're telling me if he's so good at adjusting and bending styles and measuring distance and all this other shit you guys like to constantly pump this little gay dude's nuts up about, you're telling me, since he's so good at all those things, he lost to the same fighter by the same punch that he lost to in an entirely different sport 5 years ago. But he's the style bender. He's the master of adjustments, distance, all that other bullshit, right? Israel Adesanya is the most overrated UFC fighter in history. Now, I want you simpletons to take note of this. And please be sure to hit the like and subscribe if you're new. Let's take a look at Israel Adesanya's measurements, because Stephen A. said he was so undersized. Okay? There's your gay princess that pretends to be from Nigeria, but he moved to New Zealand when he was 2. You're not some fucking African warrior from the Congo, homie. All right? Let's take a look at his measurements. 6'4", with an 80-inch reach. Okay? Let's read that one more time, because you guys are simpletons, some of you. 6'4", with an 80-inch reach. Now, let's go look at some of Israel Adesanya's opponents, because Stephen A. says he was undersized, apparently. Let's have a look, huh? Let's take a look, right? Okay? Not to mention, like I said, he lost to Yoel Romero. Shouldn't have got that decision. Lost to Robert Whittaker. His title reign should have ended twice already. He fought 2 guys his own size his entire career. You guys want to guess who they were? Jan Blachowicz, who beat him. You know who the other guy who was Adesanya's own size was? Alex Pereira, who beat him. But let's take a go look at the because it's a fucking disgrace people calling Adesanya the GOAT. Anderson Silva is and always will be the middleweight GOAT. Now remember, simpletons, Israel Adesanya is a 6'4" with an 80-inch reach advantage. Let's take a look at Kevin Gastelum's measurements. 5'9" and a 71.5-inch reach. So Kevin Gastelum was at a 7-inch height advantage and an 8.5-inch reach disadvantage. But Stephen A. says Adesanya was undersized. Let's take a look at Robert Whittaker's measurements, right? Remember, Israel Adesanya's 6'4" with an 80-inch reach. What's Robert Whittaker? 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. So Robert Whittaker was at a 6-inch height disadvantage and a 7-inch reach disadvantage. Let's move on to Marvin Vettori. Huh? Remember, Adesanya's 6'4" with an 80-inch reach advantage. 5-inch height disadvantage for Marvin Vettori and a 6-inch reach disadvantage for Marvin Vettori. Sounds like you're coming up with excuses. Now, I have a serious question. And let's go back to Adesanya's record for a second. 1 second. All right. If Israel Adesanya was any other race, would Stephen A. be sitting up there making excuses for him? No. It boils down to the facts that are these. Israel Adesanya cannot fight men his own size. He has to fight shorter men who he has a huge size advantage over and a huge reach advantage over. And he can't even knock the little guys out that are half his size. And he also lost the 2 men who were his size. He lost to both of them. Why? Because Pereira, because Pereira and Jan Blachowicz are the same size as Israel Adesanya. Let's take a look at Pereira's measurements. 6'4" with the 79-inch reach. Does that sound familiar to you guys? Right? Now let's take a look at Israel Adesanya's dimensions. 6'4" with an 80-inch reach. It sounds like they're pretty close in size there, Stephen A. You racist prick. Let's continue with Stephen A.'s bullshit, and let's start over.
Pressed over it. He fought absolutely fantastically. He was undersized. Paid Pereira is not a middleweight.
Yeah, we already killed that one, Stephen A. You can try again with the excuses, but he's got a couple of more, so let's
It
listen.
was like Drago versus Rocky. Yet Adesanya was outboxing him, outstriking him, the whole bit.
But guess what, Stephen A? He got caught by the same punch that caught him 5 years ago in a fucking completely different sport. You dumbass.
Just too small, and the goal was...
Oh, he was just too small. Well, why don't you sit up here and talk about how Robert Whittaker was just too small? Yoel Romero, who beat him, was just too small. Kevin Gastelum, who gave him a hell of a fight, was just too small. Marvin Vettori was just too small. But now that Israel Adesanya fights somebody his own size, you got an excuse. Now, again, if Israel Adesanya was a white guy, do you think Stephen A. would be talking like this? I don't think so.
Away from that power, specifically that left hook that knocked him out 5 years prior when they were competing in kickboxing. And he got caught because he said that the nerve damage with his left leg kept dragging his left. I felt
so which one is it, Stephen A.? Was he undersized, or did he have nerve damage, or is it a combination of both? Or does it just boil down to the fact that Israel Adesanya's a gay bitch? A gay bitch that can't beat a man his own size. He's made a career and a title reign off of fighting men that are half his size, and you don't know anything about that, Stephen A., because you've never boxed or done any kind of fighting before. Ever. Not once. But you talk like you're a bad guy. I'm from Brooklyn, B. And you a racist motherfucker, too. Let's continue.
I'm still depressed.
Yeah, he fought.
Well, then off yourself if you're depressed.
Fought masterfully through 4 rounds. He did everything that he was supposed to do. He touched him at the end of the first and had him rock. He took him down in round 3, which was his first takedown in his UFC fight career. And he did everything he was supposed to do until the last round. And DC kept saying during the broadcast, you can't stand in front of him. Don't put your back on the cage. He did that, got caught with a straight right, then the left hook. And he feels like it was stopped early. I think when you're Israel...
That's 3 excuses in less than a minute by the BLM boys from ESPN. Because we all know white people aren't allowed on ESPN anymore. They allow these racially biased narratives to be pushed by the brothers. So already we have the fight was stopped too early. He had nerve damage. And he was undersized, even though they're exactly the same size and dimensions. You know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like some shit we heard from the Deontay Wilder fans a couple of years ago. Pathetic. Israel Adesanya is a bum that can only beat men that are half his size. I rest my case that I said a year ago. This guy is the most overrated UFC fighter of all time. And to hell with ESPN for letting these racist excuses flow about. Fuck Adesanya. And his gay, and his fucking painted nails, and his pink hair, and his homo fatigue. Everybody please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. God bless you all. And make sure you give a couple of middle fingers to these 2 fucking boys on ESPN, as well as the gay boy Adesanya. Salute, everybody. Take care now. Bye-bye then.